You ever get that strange feeling in your chest, like something is about to go wrong, but you can't explain why? Yeah, that kind of feeling. That's exactly how my day started at the airport. I was standing there with a suitcase in one hand and a boarding pass that didn't exist in the other. And the worst part? The trip I was about to take. I had paid for it. All of it. Every single dollar. $20,000. A big family vacation to Hawaii. My idea. My money. My dream. And somehow, I was the only one not going. But wait until you hear what happened next, because that day didn't end the way my family expected. Not even close. 3 months earlier, everything felt different. I remember sitting at the dinner table with my family. Everyone was laughing, talking, planning. The grandkids were bouncing around like little fireworks. They had never been to Hawaii before. Honestly, neither had I. But I thought it would be nice. You know, one of those big family memories. Something the kids would talk about when they were older. Something we could all share together. So I said it. Let's all go to Hawaii. For a second, the table went quiet. Then everyone started talking at once. No joke. It felt like I had just announced free pizza for life. The kids started shouting about beaches. Someone mentioned surfing. Someone else said snorkeling. And suddenly the whole room felt alive. I smiled. Because this was exactly what I wanted. Family together. Memories being made. But little did I know. They were already making plans without me. And that truth would hit me harder than I expected. A few days later I transferred the money. $20,000. Straight into my kids' bank account. The idea was simple. One person handles the bookings. Flights. Hotel. Activities. Less confusion. Seemed reasonable at the time. And I trusted them. Why wouldn't I? It's family. Or at least, that's what I thought. Looking back now, that was the moment everything changed. Because the second that money left my account, something shifted. I just didn't see it yet. But trust me, the truth would show itself soon enough. Fast forward 3 months. We are all at the airport. Suitcases everywhere. Kids running around. People talking about beaches and sunshine. The place smelled like coffee and excitement. You know the vibe. Everyone getting ready for vacation. I remember smiling, thinking life was pretty good. Then suddenly, someone walked up to me. Hey, we need to talk. Their voice sounded strange, tight, uncomfortable. Right away my stomach dropped. You know that feeling? When your brain says something's wrong before anyone even speaks. Yeah, that feeling. And what came next? I swear I'll never forget. I forgot to buy your ticket. That's what they said. Just like that. Like it was no big deal. Like forgetting someone's flight on a $20,000 vacation was the same as forgetting milk at the grocery store. For a second I thought it was a joke. I actually laughed. Then I realized. They weren't joking. The ticket didn't exist. No reservation. No seat. Nothing. And suddenly the noise of the airport felt different. People laughing. Rolling suitcases. Kids shouting. It all sounded like it was happening underwater. Because in that moment, something inside me started to break. But what happened next was even worse. I walked over to the airline counter. Figured we could fix it. Buy a ticket. Pay extra. Whatever. No big deal. Or at least, that's what I thought. The airline employee checked the computer. Typed a few things. Looked at the screen. Then looked at me. I'm sorry, sir, but you're not on the reservation. Not just missing a ticket. Not just a mistake. I wasn't even part of the booking. At all. And when I turned around, that's when everything finally made sense. Because the look on their face wasn't guilt. It wasn't panic. It wasn't even embarrassment. It was relief. Like the plan had worked. And that's when the real sentence dropped. Just go home. Go home. Like I was some random stranger. Like I hadn't paid for the entire trip. Like I didn't matter. That moment. Yeah. That moment changes a man. But what they didn't know was, that decision would cost them more than they could ever imagine. A few minutes later they walked through security. Just like that. suitcases rolling, kids laughing, vacation mode, and me. I was standing there in the middle of the airport, holding a suitcase, watching my own family disappear. I wish I could say I yelled, or chased them, or caused a scene, but I didn't. I just stood there, quiet, because sometimes the loudest reaction is silence, and in that silence, a thought started forming, a slow one, a dangerous one. If they thought I was going to go home and cry about it, they were about to be very disappointed, because that wasn't the plan anymore, not even close. I walked back to the airline counter, not to buy a ticket, not to beg for a seat, but to ask one simple question. When was that reservation made? The employee checked the computer. 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks. Let that sink in. The vacation was planned for 3 months. But the tickets? Booked 6 weeks ago. And guess what? They booked seats for everyone. Except me. Which meant something pretty clear. This wasn't a mistake. It was a plan. A deliberate plan. And suddenly the sadness I felt earlier started turning into something else. Something colder. Something sharper. Because they thought they had outsmarted me. But they forgot one important thing. The old man they just betrayed still had a few moves left. And the next move? Oh, trust me. It was going to shake their entire world. I grabbed my suitcase. Walked out of the airport. The cold air hit my face. Cars passing. Taxi drivers shouting. Normal life. But inside my head, everything was changing. Slowly. Quietly. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger burns fast. This was different. This was strategy. Because if someone steals from you, you can yell. But if someone betrays you, you make them remember it forever. And that's exactly what I was about to do. But first, I needed to make a phone call. And that phone call would start a chain of events my family never saw coming. Not in their wildest dreams. So there I was, standing outside the airport. Suitcase beside me. Family gone. Vacation gone. $20,000 gone. Cold wind hit my face while taxis drove past one after another. And for a second, just a second, I felt like the biggest fool on earth. You know that feeling? When your own people make you feel small. Yeah, that one. But something strange happened in that moment. The sadness slowly started turning into something else. Something colder. Something sharper. Not rage. Not yelling. Strategy. Because anger makes noise. Strategy makes results. And trust me, results were coming. But first, I needed to make a phone call. I grabbed a taxi and threw my suitcase in the trunk. The driver looked back at me. Airport drop-off didn't go well, he asked with a half smile. I laughed a little. Yeah, you could say that. He nodded like he had seen that story before. People leaving. People crying. People fighting. Airports see a lot of drama. But this one? This one was different. Because my family didn't just leave me behind. They planned it. And once I realized that, the game changed. But the driver said something interesting next. Family problems? He asked. I looked out the window. City lights passing by. Yeah, I said quietly. The worst kind. He chuckled. Man, family knows exactly where to stick the knife. That sentence hit harder than he probably realized. Because that's exactly what it felt like. A knife. Right in the middle of trust. And the more I thought about it, the clearer the picture became. This wasn't about a ticket. This was about money. Always was. But little did they know. Money was the one thing I still controlled. And that realization changed everything. Halfway through the taxi ride my phone buzzed. A message. From my family. Sorry about the mix-up. We'll call you from the hotel. Mix-up. I stared at the phone and laughed. A real laugh this time. Because a mix-up means accident. A mix-up means mistake. But booking tickets for everyone except the person paying? That ain't no mix-up. That's a plan. A cheap one too. And the crazy part? They really thought I would just go home and accept it. Like some quiet old guy who doesn't make trouble. But they forgot something important. Old doesn't mean stupid. And patience. Well, patience can be dangerous when you push the wrong person. Because by the time that taxi stopped in front of my house, I already knew exactly what I was going to do. Walking into my house felt strange. 3 hours earlier I had locked that same door while smiling. Excited about Hawaii. Excited about the grandkids seeing the ocean. Now the house felt quiet. Too quiet. Suitcase still packed. Sunscreen still sitting on the kitchen counter. I stood there for a moment just looking around. And then I started laughing again. Because suddenly the whole situation looked ridiculous. They thought leaving me behind would solve their problem. But what they didn't realize was, they had just created a much bigger one. And the best part? They didn't even know it yet. Not even close. I went into my home office and opened a drawer. Inside was a folder labeled Vacation. I had printed everything. Hotel confirmation. Activity lists. Travel plans. All the stuff we talked about at family dinners. And when I looked at that hotel reservation, something made my eyebrows go up. 7 guests. 7. But guess what? There were supposed to be 7 people including me. Yet the reservation listed someone else instead. Someone who wasn't even alive anymore. Yeah. Let that sink in. They had literally used another name instead of mine. That's when the final piece clicked in my head. This wasn't just disrespect. This was betrayal. Carefully planned betrayal. And when betrayal reaches that level, well, that's when consequences start knocking. But the next thing I did, oh man, that was the first domino. I picked up the phone and dialed the hotel in Hawaii. The woman who answered sounded cheerful. You know that professional hotel voice. Good evening, how may I help you? I gave the reservation number. She pulled it up. Yes, sir, we have a beautiful suite waiting for you tomorrow. I smiled. Actually, I need to cancel it. Silence. A small pause on the other end. Then she said carefully, Sir, cancelling this late will involve heavy penalties. That's fine, I said. Another pause. You are certain? Completely. More typing sounds. More clicking. Then she said the magic words. The reservation is cancelled. Just like that. $20,000 vacation. Gone. Finished. Deleted. And somewhere thousands of miles away. My family had no idea yet. But they were about to find out the hard way. Because when they walked into that hotel lobby, their vacation dream would vanish in seconds. And trust me, the phone calls that came after? Yeah. Those were something else. That night I slept better than I expected. No anger. No shouting. Just peace. Because sometimes justice doesn't feel like revenge. Sometimes it feels like balance. Like the universe correcting something unfair. And the crazy thing? I knew exactly when they would discover the truth. When they reached the hotel desk. When the receptionist typed their name. When the screen said, reservation cancelled. I could almost imagine their faces. Confused. Panicked. Angry. And sure enough, the next morning proved I was right. Because when I woke up, my phone was going crazy. Missed calls. Messages. Dozens of them. And every single one was from my family. But the tone of those messages? Oh man, that tone had completely changed. Because suddenly, they needed me. Badly. And the first voicemail? Yeah. That one told me everything. I played the voicemail while drinking my morning coffee. The voice sounded tired. Angry. Desperate. We arrived at the hotel and they say the reservation is gone. What did you do? What did I do? I sipped my coffee slowly. Calm. Relaxed. Because suddenly the power balance had flipped. Yesterday they told me to go home. Now they were begging for answers. But that wasn't even the best part. The best part came later. Because the next message said something I'll never forget. The kids are crying. And hearing that, yeah, that made me pause. Because children shouldn't suffer for adult stupidity. But at the same time, adults need to learn consequences. And the lesson for them was just getting started. Because the next phone call we had would change our family forever. And what I said during that call, let's just say, they didn't expect it. Not even a little. Because during that phone call, my own family called me something I never thought I'd hear. And the moment they said it, I knew one thing for sure. The old version of me was gone. Completely gone. And what happened 3 weeks later at the airport, when they finally came back from Hawaii, that moment destroyed their world. So the next morning, my phone was blowing up. Missed calls, voicemails, text messages, dozens of them, all from the same people who had walked through airport security the day before without even looking back. Funny how that works, right? When everything is going their way, you're invisible. But the second something goes wrong, suddenly you're the most important person in the world. I sat in my kitchen, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, watching the screen light up again and again. And honestly, I wasn't even mad anymore. I was calm. Too calm. Because calm means thinking. And thinking means planning. And trust me, my plan was getting clearer every minute. But first, I decided to listen to the voicemails. And the first one? Yeah. That one said everything. The voice sounded tired. Angry. Panicked. We just got to the hotel and they say our reservation was cancelled. I leaned back in my chair, sipped my coffee, and kept listening. What did you do? The tone wasn't polite. It wasn't respectful. It wasn't even curious. It sounded like an accusation. Like I had ruined something that belonged to them. Which was funny. Because the vacation they were standing in front of? Yeah. I paid for that. But the message kept going. The kids are tired. We flew for hours. We need a place to stay. Need. That word stood out. Because the day before, I needed a ticket. And nobody cared. Not even a little. So hearing the word need now, well, let's just say it didn't hit the same way. But the second voicemail? That one was even better. The next message came a few minutes later. And this time the tone had changed. Now there was anger. You went too far with this. I laughed out loud. Too far? Really? Leaving someone at an airport after they paid $20,000? Apparently that wasn't too far. But cancelling the hotel? Now suddenly that crossed the line. Funny logic. But the message kept going. You need to fix this right now. Need again. Orders this time. Not a request. Not an apology. Just a demand. And in that moment something became very clear. They still thought they had control. They still believed I would panic. That I would feel guilty. That I would rush to fix everything. But they didn't know something important. The version of me they remembered? That guy stayed at the airport yesterday. What they were dealing with now was someone else entirely. And when I finally decided to call back, well, that conversation went very differently than they expected. I pressed the call button. The phone rang once. And it was answered immediately. Finally. The voice exploded through the speaker. What are you doing? Why would you cancel the hotel? No hello. No apology. Straight to yelling. I leaned back in my chair. Calm. Relaxed. How's Hawaii? I asked. Silence. For a second nobody spoke. Then the voice came back louder. This isn't funny. I looked out the kitchen window. Sunlight on the trees. Birds flying around. Peaceful morning. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, someone was standing in a hotel lobby losing their mind. And honestly, the contrast was pretty amazing. But the shouting continued. The kids are crying. We spent the night in the lobby. That made me pause for a second. Kids sleeping in a lobby. That's not a nice image. But then I remembered something. The airport. The suitcase. The words just go home. And the sympathy faded pretty fast. Because respect works both ways. And yesterday, I didn't get any. I asked one simple question. When were those tickets booked? Silence again. Longer this time. Finally the voice answered. Why does that matter? I smiled. Because that hesitation told me everything. 6 weeks ago, right? No answer. Just breathing on the other end. Heavy breathing. You booked everyone's ticket 6 weeks ago, I continued, and somehow forgot mine. More silence. And that's when I said the sentence that changed the entire conversation. That wasn't a mistake. Now the voice exploded again. You're being dramatic. Dramatic. Yeah. That word gets thrown around a lot when people get caught. But the shouting kept going. You ruined our vacation. I almost laughed again. Because the truth was pretty simple. They ruined their own vacation. The moment they decided I wasn't part of it. And that's exactly what I told them. But what they said next. Yeah. That crossed a line. The voice got quiet. Cold. Angry. You're acting like a crazy old man. Old man. There it was. The real opinion finally slipping out. Not dad. Not family. Just old man. Like I was some useless problem. Something inconvenient. And hearing that, well, that was the moment something inside me shut off completely. Because respect isn't optional. And once it disappears, so does patience. But the voice kept going. You better fix this when we get back. Better. Now it sounded like a threat. Like I owed them something. Like I should be afraid. And that's when I realized something important. They still didn't understand the situation. They thought this was a fight. But it wasn't. This was a lesson. And lessons sometimes take time. But when they finally land, they land hard. And trust me, this one was just beginning. After that call ended, I sat there quietly for a long time. Coffee finished. Phone silent. House peaceful again. And one thought kept repeating in my head. This isn't just about a vacation. This is about respect. Because money can be replaced. Trips can be cancelled. But betrayal? That sticks. And if someone shows you exactly who they are, well, you should believe them. So that's exactly what I did. I believed them. And I made a decision. A big one. One that would change the future of my entire family. But to make that decision happen, I needed professional help. Not revenge. Not drama. Something stronger. The law. And the next phone call I made that day. Yeah. That one started the real chain reaction. Because 3 weeks later, when my family came back from Hawaii, they saw me standing at the airport. But I wasn't alone. There was a man in a suit standing next to me. And the envelope in his hand? Oh man, that envelope destroyed everything they thought they knew. Because inside that envelope was a document that changed my family forever. And when they read the first line, the color drained from their faces instantly. 3 weeks later, I was back at the airport. Same terminal. Same arrival gate. Same smell of coffee and jet fuel in the air. But this time, everything was different. 3 weeks earlier I stood there alone, holding a suitcase, watching my own family disappear through security like I didn't exist. Now, I was standing next to a man in a grey suit, calm, professional, holding a thick envelope, and inside that envelope was something that was about to shake my entire family to the core. The flight from Hawaii landed right on time. People started pouring out of the gate. Sunburned faces, tourist shirts, souvenirs hanging from backpacks. Everyone looking relaxed. Everyone except the group I was waiting for. Because when they walked out, they looked exhausted. Dark circles under their eyes. Wrinkled clothes. The kind of tired that comes from stress, not vacation. Turns out, sleeping in hotel lobbies and scrambling for last-minute rooms can ruin a tropical trip pretty fast. And the moment they saw me, they froze. Right there in the middle of the airport. Like someone had hit pause. Because they clearly didn't expect me to be there. But what really confused them was the man standing beside me. The first words came out sharp. What are you doing here? No hello. No thank you. Just attitude. Same as always. But this time, I didn't answer right away. Instead, the man next to me stepped forward. Calm voice. Professional tone. Good afternoon. He handed over the envelope and said 5 simple words. You've been asked to review this. Confusion spread across their faces. One of them ripped open the envelope, pulled out the documents, started reading. And the reaction? Immediate. Their face went pale, like the blood just drained out. What is this? The man in the suit spoke again. It's a legal notice. Now everyone around them started leaning in, trying to see the paper, trying to understand what was happening. And honestly, the first line alone was enough to cause chaos, because it started with something nobody expected. The document said, "Effective immediately." That phrase alone made them panic. But the next sentence? Yeah, that's when the shouting started, because the paper explained that several financial arrangements were being terminated. Immediately. Credit cards, monthly transfers, access to accounts. Gone. All of it. Just like that. 3 weeks earlier they assumed I would keep funding their lifestyle forever. But respect is the price of support. And when respect disappears, support disappears too. That simple. But the yelling started immediately. You can't do this. People always say that when something absolutely can be done. The man in the suit stayed calm. Yes, it can. And then he pointed to the next paragraph, which was even worse. The document continued. It explained that the house they were living in wasn't theirs. It never had been. It belonged to a family trust, a trust one controlled. And the new update? Well, the house was being sold. 30 days. That's all they had. 30 days to pack. 30 days to leave. 30 days to figure out life without the safety net they took for granted. The silence after that was heavy, like the air itself froze. But then the questions started. Angry ones. Panicked ones. How could you do this to your family? That question almost made me laugh, because 3 weeks earlier, I asked myself a similar question, standing alone at airport security, holding my suitcase, listening to the words, "Just go home." Funny how perspective works. One of them looked up from the papers, eyes wide, voice shaking. You planned this. Finally, they were starting to understand. Not revenge, not anger. Planning. Careful, quiet planning. The man in the suit explained everything calmly. These changes were prepared weeks ago. And that was true. Because once someone shows you exactly how little you matter, you stop pretending things are fine. You start fixing the situation. Permanently. But the argument wasn't over. Not even close. Because someone else stepped forward. And what they said next. That's when the truth really exploded. You're destroying this family. The words echoed across the terminal. People started staring now. Full attention. But I stayed calm. Because destroying a family usually involves betrayal, disrespect, selfish decisions. And those things didn't start today. They started long before that airport trip. But the yelling continued. You're punishing us. Punishing. Interesting word. Because punishment usually follows an action. And actions have consequences. Simple rule of life. But then someone else asked a question that actually mattered. A quiet voice this time. What happens now? Finally. A real question. Not anger. Not insults. Just reality. And the answer. Well, that answer changed everything again. I looked at them for a long moment. 3 weeks earlier I felt invisible. Now they couldn't stop staring at me. Funny how quickly roles change. Then I said something very simple. You're adults. No yelling. No drama. Just the truth. Adults figure things out. Adults take responsibility. Adults don't treat people like wallets. The man in the suit closed his briefcase. Documents delivered. Job done. But before he walked away, he added one more thing. And that sentence? Yeah. That sentence hit harder than anything else. Because he said, there is one more document. Everyone froze again. Another envelope. Another piece of paper. And when they read the title at the top, one person actually dropped their suitcase. Because the document was something nobody expected. Not in a million years. And when the words finally sank in, someone whispered the only thing they could say. You replaced us. Because the document they were holding was the new will, and the names written inside it were definitely not theirs. The airport went completely silent. Everyone was staring at that second document, the one titled, Last Will and Testament. Hands were shaking while the pages turned, eyes scanning every line, looking for their names, waiting to see where they appeared. But the longer they read, the more confused they looked. Because their names? They weren't there. Not on the first page. Not on the second page. Not anywhere. And that's when the whisper came. You replaced us. I shook my head slowly. No. My voice was calm, quiet, clear. I didn't replace anyone. They stared at me, waiting for the rest, and I gave it to them. I just stopped rewarding people who didn't respect me. That sentence hit harder than yelling ever could, because deep down, they knew it was true. The new will didn't name strangers. It didn't name random people. It named places, scholarships, charities, programs for kids who couldn't afford school, food banks, veterans groups, community centers. Every dollar that used to support people who treated me like an ATM was now going somewhere it actually mattered, helping people who would never even meet me, but would benefit from it anyway. And strangely enough, that felt better than any vacation ever could. For the first time, nobody argued. Nobody yelled. Nobody blamed me. They just stood there, reading, thinking, processing, because reality had finally landed. The safety net was gone. The money was gone. The house was gone. And the person they treated like he didn't matter? Yeah. He was the one who controlled all of it. But then something happened I honestly didn't expect. One of them stepped forward, slowly, quietly, and said two words that hadn't been said in a very long time. I'm sorry. Not loud, not dramatic, just real. And that moment mattered. Because apologies don't fix everything, but they can start something. And that's exactly what this one did. Life didn't magically go back to normal after that day. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. Respect doesn't appear instantly. But something changed. The conversations became real. The attitudes became different. People started acting like adults instead of entitled kids. Some relationships healed. Some didn't. And that's okay. Because family isn't about who gets your money. Family is about who values you when the money isn't part of the conversation. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do for people is stop protecting them from the consequences of their actions. That's when growth actually starts. Looking back now, the airport wasn't the worst day of my life. It was the moment everything became clear. The moment I finally understood something important. Respect is worth more than any ticket, more than any house, more than any inheritance. And if someone treats you like you don't matter, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is quietly show them what life looks like when you stop trying to earn their approval. Because the truth is simple. The people who truly value you, they never needed the money in the first place. So if there's one thing this whole story taught me, it's this. Never let anyone treat your kindness like weakness. And never forget your own worth. Because the moment you start respecting yourself, the whole world changes. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more powerful life lessons like this one, make sure to subscribe to our channel and join us for the next story. You won't want to miss it.